Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Concern about inflation from U.S. tariffs? Not over yet. China is retaliating now that American companies must pay 10% extra on Chinese imports. Beijing issuing tariffs on certain items from the U.S. and creating export controls. Now, as Amy Kiley reports, other U.S. trade partners are worried. They're next.
The European Union will respond firmly.
Europe is bracing for a potential trade showdown with the U.S. as an American tariff on Chinese imports takes effect today.
It will definitely happen with the European Union, I can tell you that, because they've really taken advantage of us. And, we have over a $300 billion deficit.
The president of the European Commission says she wants to start negotiations with the U.S. early. That's instead of waiting for President Donald Trump to make good on his tariff threat.
The European Union is prepared for a robust but constructive dialogue with the United States.
Trump says he plans to have such a dialogue with Beijing soon. As of today, U.S.-based companies must pay a 10% tariff on Chinese imports. China says it's responding with tariffs on a few U.S. exports after an initially muted response.
China has long been preparing for less exposure to the U.S.
Trump says he's postponing 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports, which many economists call inflationary. Trump says those countries have made concessions around border security. Views are mixed on whether that dispute with America's neighbors was worth it.
There's a cost to U.S. credibility and there's a cost to Trump's credibility.
I think in the case of Canada, it probably is a negotiating tactic. In the case of Mexico, we have to get their attention.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
A convicted murderer getting no relief from the state's appeals court. In a decision released Tuesday morning, the Nebraska Court of Appeals affirmed the conviction and sentence of Justin Wagner. Wagner convicted of charges related to the shooting death of 18-year-old Corvante Hill in Omaha back in 2021. Douglas County authorities say it was a gang-related shooting. Now, Wagner appealed, arguing he received an excessive sentence and that the district court should have let him withdraw his no contest plea. He also argued his attorney was ineffective, but the appeals court disagreed, affirming his 90 to 115-year sentence. A Nebraska sheriff's office trying to allay fears of federal agents pulling kids out of schools as part of enhanced immigration raids. Douglas County Sheriff's officials met with superintendents in the Omaha Metro on Monday. The sheriff's office says they've been told there are currently no plans for local immigration and customs enforcement officials to take any action in any Douglas County schools. Local ICE officials also told law enforcement that they're not planning on having any presence in juvenile or family courts. Speculation about ICE enforcement in schools has run rampant since the enhanced enforcement began last month. Officials in Colfax County last week issued statements debunking rumors that ICE had taken people into custody at Schuyler Public Schools. Well, after a 2-hour closed session, the city of Norfolk transitioning its city administrator to a special independent contractor and consultant. Hanky Hazelton has more details on the move.
It does have a connotation that there's been a resolution or a settlement or something like that. And I know everybody wants the titillation that there's been misconduct or things of that nature. I can tell you that that's not the case. First component of the title of consulting agreement is that we're moving into Andy as an employee of the city of Norfolk, to Andy, who is an independent contractor, who has a contract for consulting purposes back to the city. So he's no longer an employee of the city. If the city council does not approve the consulting agreement and release, the net result is then going to be that City Administrator Andy just remains in his role under his current contract. And of course I get there's a concern regarding finances. So when we wrote the consulting agreement, what we tried to do was take the compensation component, and the dollars and benefits, and move them from that of the employment agreement over into the consulting agreement. But can we do it the same? The answer is no, because you heard me earlier say he's an employee on this hand, and he's moving over to an independent contractor who's not going to get city employee benefits and things of that nature.
If Andy, the city administrator, was let go or wouldn't be reappointed, he would be entitled to a 6-month severance package among other benefits.
The total amount of compensation for finishing to June and then 6 months severance from June 2nd plus other benefits to December 2nd, 2025 would equate to roughly $266,000. What I'm going to propose with you is a slight amendment to this under the terms of the consulting agreement. Basically, the total compensation would be roughly $213,000. So there is a savings one way or the other. Yes, there will be an increased cost, an additional stipend that you're going to have to pay your interim. If the interim is appointed for a period of time, yes, they're in-house, but you're going to have to pay them a little bit more.
Although he is not exactly leaving, Colvin expressed his gratitude and to those who have always stood behind his decisions.
There has been a lot of work done in this community it's involved a lot of people, I think, to bring a lot of success to this community. And, I'll always defer and give a lot of kudos to the city staff and also the elected officials that have done a tremendous amount of work in policy and the projects that we've all accomplished. So it's been great, and I appreciate all the graciousness that everyone's extended to everybody involved. So it's been great. Thank you.
In Norfolk, Hanky Hazelton, News Channel, Nebraska.
Well, enrollment in some Nebraska school districts has been growing of late. One of those growing districts now looking to improve their facilities. Jake Bartecki has more from Southeast Nebraska.
A Southeast Nebraska school district is looking to take steps towards better education through a bond issue. The Freeman Public Schools Board of Education approved a March vote for a bond issue of $26.9 million with some specific areas aimed at improvement.
Career and technical education, safety and security, preschool, additional classrooms, and then different improvements throughout the building.
Freeman Superintendent Andrew Havelka says Freeman Public Schools has seen gradual enrollment increases in recent years. While that's a good thing, it also means a need for more adequate space.
Space is definitely one of those things. An expanded kitchen and commons and cafeteria area would enable us to be able to serve more lunches and a variety of different options, as well as have expanded space for kids to eat.
Havelka says the school board has tried to be open with parents and those in the community about the project, and the overall response has been positive.
Our school board and the district have done a good job of listening to our community, listening to our parents, students, staff, and put the best project out there that we can. And so the other thing too is that we've really tried to be as transparent as possible.
In Adams, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
The Ravenna Public Schools also asking its community to vote on an upcoming multi-million-dollar bond aimed at improving their facilities. Officials there say some of the improvements include a secure school entrance, new ag shop, classrooms for ag, art and robotics, a weight room, and a renovated mechanics classroom. The project would also bring all the students back together under one roof. They would get rid of the classrooms in the north buildings. The Board of Ed also announcing that the special election will take place by mail on March 11th. The amount, $5.5 million. Studies ongoing into ways to lower the nitrate levels in Nebraska groundwater. The Department of Environment and Energy released the results of a state commission study on groundwater last month. It found that while 99% of the state's public water systems are in compliance with the nitrate standard, there are hotspots of private wells where the groundwater had nitrate levels higher than the safe drinking level in places like Platte and Pierce counties. In fact, the study found 15% of the private samples submitted had unsafe levels of nitrates. Survey organizers say it's shining a light on a problem that everyone wants solved.
Nebraska, although it has an abundant supply of groundwater, much of that is close to the surface and highly vulnerable to contamination. I think that the public is becoming more aware, concerned, and then willing to do something.
The study was done after the state legislature formed a commission to look at Nebraska's water quality. That report led to the formation of a nitrate priority tool, which state officials say will help find solutions for towns with high nitrate levels. A Central Nebraska group dedicated to expanded child care access, getting a big boost from a local nonprofit. The Holdridge Area Early Childhood Partnership announced Monday that the Phelps County Development Corporation is coming on board as a platinum sponsor. The partnership was created to try to address the child care crisis in the Holdridge area by supporting child care providers and helping businesses that require reliable care for their employees. There's new leadership in an eastern Nebraska public power district. The Loop Power District Board this week appointed Corey Hobza as their new president and CEO at their meeting in Columbus. The native of Lee has worked for Loop PPD as vice president of engineering since 2020. Hobza takes over for outgoing President Neil Seuss next January. Seuss announced last year he'd be retiring after 18 years as president. And the search for the next chancellor of the University of Nebraska-Kearney proceeding on schedule. NU President Dr. Jeff Gold gave an update on the search while stopping in Kearney for a scholarship presentation recently. He said at the time he had just spoken with Search Committee Chair Dr. David Jackson.
He tells me that there are interests expressed by dozens of individuals. They plan to have first-round interviews done no later than, I believe, the middle of March, and we hope to have a finalist, they told me, for public vetting that I can take to the border regions late spring.
Gold says he hopes the new chancellor will be in place by July 1st for the start of the next academic year. Dr. Charlie Bisak came out of retirement and has served as interim chancellor since May. University leadership looking to replace Doug Christensen, who retired last year after 22 years as UNK chancellor. And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. This is News Channel Nebraska.